All righty. It looks like we are live. So, welcome everybody. And I'm so glad. I'm really honored to have, I'm kind of nervous too, but I'm really honored to have Devon O'Day, iconic songwriter, author. Oh my gosh. Voice actress, radio personnel. I mean, I could go on and on. The Queen of Nashville Broadcasting is joining
Oh,
us today.
you're so funny. Thank you for having me so much.
I am so, like, I have stressed over this because I've been so nervous about it. It's
Oh
hard to
my
interview.
Lord.
It's hard to interview and somebody that's done it as long as you have. And
Oh my gosh. No, no, no. No, it's just a conversation, girl, and we love to talk.
well, and that's what I usually do is just a conversation because
Uh-huh.
I think that specific questions that are so stiff are boring. I don't want to. I don't want to watch it, so I don't want to do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we're just here to have fun, and I've been asking everybody questions all day today. It's been a day of interviewing, and it's just been a whole lot of fun. That's what it's like, man. I tell you what, in podcasting and the internet has given us a chance to just remove all the roadblocks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. It really has, and I've probably been able. Well, one, I love it because I can do these interviews in my pajamas if I want,
Yeah,
just the waist down, and nobody knows it.
that's right.
And I don't have to stand in heels or boots or nothing. I can be a
Thank you,
lazy
Lord.
interviewer.
You know what? It can be real. That's another thing that the internet has given us a chance to accept people. This whole COVID thing, reality, we're starting to realize people are just all human. We all got children, and we all
Yes,
live in our homes, and our dogs bark.
right.
See, is that timing or what?
that
Okay,
that's what that's a God moment right there.
yeah, yeah. Sound effect from the dogs, and I laugh at, and I have a little animal sanctuary for senior animals, and so every now and then, especially with a dog that's very hard of hearing, they have this really strange bark because they can't hear themselves,
The
and
one that
so,
just barked is deaf.
uh-huh,
He's been deaf since birth.
so you know
So
exactly what I'm talking about.
yes, I do. He
They
sounds like a
vocalize it.
rooster.
Yes, they do. They do. It's the craziest thing.
So yes, I know. Like the puppy was just on camera a few minutes ago. She's only 7 months old, and she definitely can hear, the tiniest cracker crumb drop to the floor. But he's 8 years old. He doesn't care about anything. But
About
uh,
anything.
yeah, yeah. But it's great that he's with him being deaf. We don't have to be quiet or. It's he's I don't know. He's a great dog. I love him to death. And we taught him sign language, which it was like we got to learn too. So that was kind of cool.
I love it. I love it. Well, they make our lives happy, but we've got a storm coming in where I am, and I laugh because every time it is, everybody growls and barks every time there's thunder. So I am
Yeah.
literally where they can't disturb us.
um,
And
well,
they
and
would.
it would have been okay with me. I think. 'Cause are you in Nashville?
I'm outside Nashville, yeah, east of Nashville.
Because we're in Louisville, Kentucky. So, well, about 20
Uh,
minutes south of Louisville. So we've got it. It's been cloudy here all day, and we're expecting them too. So, um, but let me ask you because okay, your first radio gig was over 30 years ago, and that was
oh, can you believe it?
in Monroe, Louisiana. So, and I know I've heard you tell the story that you and your grandmother used to watch or listen to WSM, and
Yep,
you told her you were going to be on there one day. Did you?
I
How did?
did.
Yeah, I want. That is so. It's so cool. that story. So
You know what? I tell everybody, I said, don't ever give up on your dreams. And that's the other thing. And don't hold on to your dream and to make it more than what it is. Sometimes it's just enough to arrive there and to get that glimpse of it. For me, I was just a kid and listening in the middle of a soybean field, basically, is where my grandparents had cattle farm, soybean and cotton. And so we'd listen on this old Crosley radio. And Mama, I'm going to be on there one day. And then she'd say, you going to be singing on there, honey? No, Mama, I'm going to be talking. And it just occurred to me when I was 54 years old and I walked out on the stage of the Grand Ole Opry, announced a segment and read an ad for Dollar General that I was doing that dream. And that somewhere in in heaven, my grandma got to see that.
Yeah.
And I got 5 years at that beautiful place, and so I'm really grateful for the time that I had there.
Look, and I've only been there. I've been there twice. I was like twice. The first time I was ever there was the night that Mark Wills was inducted, and
Oh man,
then
what? Yeah.
right. I mean, if I had to be there, if that was going to be the first time, that was a night to be there. And
Yeah. Oh
then
yeah.
the other time was John Barry, Matthew West. Oh my gosh, I can't remember now. Everybody, well, Ricky Skaggs, I think, was there, but there was, and just standing right back there, you know, behind the stage, watching these artists perform, and that was Matthew's debut at the Opry, and
Opry debuts are the best.
yeah,
Aren't
it
they?
was. Yes, we followed his family and him back to his dressing room, and he was so elated, and it was so amazing to watch. Of course, John Barry did, you know, his amazing songs, and he was just as ecstatic coming off that stage as Matthew was. So
Oh yeah.
it's like no matter how many times, there's something so magical about that building, and just watching it. So, but you didn't just become a radio broadcaster. I mean, you wrote a #1 song, 11 singles, 4 books. I mean, are you an overachiever?
Yeah, I am. Here's my deal is that I have a lot of things that I love to do, and I refuse to say, well, you can only do one. There were always,
Right.
I heard a lot where I was growing up, they go, well, you don't want to be jack of all trades and a master of none.
Right.
And I said, but why can't you be a master of a lot of things if you've got that calling?
Yes. Yes.
Why would you do just one thing? Da Vinci didn't do just one thing. I mean, he didn't. I mean, and Galileo didn't do just one thing.
Right.
Everybody gets to do a lot of different things. And I think, my grandmother didn't just do one thing. My little grandmother, who didn't have any higher learning, as they say, but she was an amazing cook, and she could heal any animal. She could just heal them, and she had no training or whatever. I mean, she had giftings, and she didn't have to. You don't have to be famous to be talented in a lot of different areas. People think sometimes if you're not famous that you're not good at something.
Right, absolutely. And I noticed Allison Bray is on here. And can you shut that door for me? That way I'm having my better half shut the screen door because the dog's gonna start barking in a minute again. Thank you. We have Allison Bray is on here. She's telling us to preach. Now, do you know Allison?
That sounds so familiar. I'm terrible with names, but I bet you could tell me her pet's name, I'd remember.
Allison, what is your dog's name? I don't know. Allison was on The Voice.
It's the truth, yeah.
She was on The Voice several years ago, but she's amazing. Okay. And
yes, I do know who that is. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. So she's joining us too and commenting, and it's true. I mean, she knows it. She's very hardworking with little ones and gigs and work and everything. So it's true. And I think sometimes people do say you can only do one thing, but you're right. Why? I can do 40.
Right. And women women have been multitasking their entire lives. Women
Yes.
especially have a gift for it because you just try to handle more than one child at one
Yeah.
time. I'm not a mom because that is one of the things I didn't feel like I could multitask very well. Also, I didn't have a husband that, so that was a little issue. But
They make banks for that, Devon.
it's so funny. I laughed, and at one time, I actually considered. I looked into, and I said, "Oh my Lord!" At the time, I also had Tennessee walking horses that I was raising. Shania Twain's horse was the stud colt that I bred my mare to, and I laughed because I said, "It's cheaper for me to get inseminated than my horse." Now, what does that tell you about people?
Right. Um, well, and some other good news that, because I love this story too, so I would like for you to tell it. So yesterday, the class of 2020 of the Country Music Hall of Fame was announced,
Oh my
and
God.
your buddy Dean Dillon is one of the inductees, and you have this great story about Dean.
Thank you. I always say that I was sitting at KRRV in Alexandria, Louisiana, and I fell in love with Dean Dillon. He wasn't there. They handed me a magazine, and he was on the cover, and I said, I'm coming to Nashville. One of these days, I'm going to be in Nashville, and I'm going to write with Dean Dillon. And 10 years later, I found myself in Nashville, and I did get to meet Dean, and I said, I'm writing a book, a memoir of my story, but I'm not going to tell you that story, the full story. I'm going to save that for the book. But I literally started begging him at that time to write songs, and he would, it's like, no, I'm busy or whatever, or he would book it and then he would cancel, and he would cancel, and finally he showed up in a room, and I was in a room. He said, "Okay, kid, what you got? What you got?" And I gave him the premise, the idea, the first line, and he, I'll write that with you. That's good. And then we wrote again after that, and again. Oddly enough, Linda Hargrove, who wrote Tennessee Whiskey with Dean, was my praise and worship leader in Monroe, Louisiana, at the Eagles Nest Church. And she was the only person I knew in Nashville, except
Yeah.
for a friend who was a camerawoman at CMT. But Linda, was my first publisher and taught me about songwriting. And I didn't even put together Dean and her in my mind
What?
until many years later.
Wow.
She was a person who really helped me to write. She went down to Louisiana just to kind of heal from the music injury.
Yeah.
And she said I ought to spend some time with Jesus. And then she came back, and she was fine, and she had her publishing company, and she signed me, and she signed Phil Vassar.
Oh, well. So you were in great company, and so I can't wait to read the book to hear more about the Dean Dillon story. But I mean, it is a really cool kind of full circle moment. That's really cool.
I'm
Now
really,
go ahead.
sorry. Go ahead.
No.
I'm really grateful for the chance to share those kind of stories. The book that I'm writing, everybody's asked me a long time ago, they said, when are you going to write your book? And they always want to tell all, but it's going to be a little bit different than that. It will be I'll tell it all, sister, tell it all. I might do a little bit of tell all, but there's nothing bad. That's the thing about it, is that everybody expects some seedy underbelly of stories, but I have had the most amazing life in country music. And I have found gentlemen and very kind people along the way, and the women have been stellar. They talk about, all the women in country music and they're all snipey and blah, blah. No, that's not true. Not for me. Not for me.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and I do say a lot, you get a group of 3 women together and 2 of them are going to talk about the other one, because that's always been an experience of mine. Now, the relationships with the women that I have in Nashville, whether it's because I'm not down there that often or
Right.
I don't know, but I have found wonderful women who I love and adore that are in the business, and
Mm.
we can talk about business or we cannot talk about business, but I don't find it to be a really competitive thing. They seem when I ask questions or need help, they seem to want to offer it, as do vice versa. So
You know what I found? I found that if people go into any kind of relationship expecting that somebody's going to hurt them, sometimes that's what happens. They do. And if you
yeah,
go into
yeah,
situations expecting people to be good, people will almost always surprise you and raise to the level that you expect of them.
right,
Now, there's a
right.
couple of guys in my past that did not do that, but that might end up in them too. But
Well, and jumping back real quick to the Dean Dillon story, I can kind of relate to that, and that's why I wanted to hear you tell it, because I was the first concert I went to was I won backstage passes and front row seats here in Louisville to Alabama, and
yeah,
Coyote Calhoun was the DJ here at WAMZ at the time, and
yes,
so
yes.
I mean Coyote's a hoot anyway, but so
He is
you
a
know.
rock star, is what he is. Yeah.
Yes. And so he takes me and a friend backstage, and those were the days where you sent in a postcard to win and you had to call within 9 minutes and 75 seconds. But
Yo, your fun
so,
radio. Yes.
right. Found a payphone, get some quarters. That's what happened in those days. But I got home that night from the show and I wrote in my diary, one day I'm going to move to Nashville and do something in the music industry. And I took that diary to a Wade Hayes benefit 2 years ago that where Randy Owen was playing and had Randy sign that page for me because
Oh,
it was kind of because that whole night
yes.
of it was a full circle moment, and I enjoy everything that we are able to do in talking with people and getting to know them, because we do have some wonderful wonderful friends out of this that
Mm-hmm.
I adore. Speaking of some friends, in one of the clips on YouTube I was watching of you in the station at WSM, you had Tarabella, or now known as Joe and Martina, and
Yes.
we love them. And they did Hey Mama, and I still
Mm-hmm.
have them do that for me all the time. So it was so cool to watch that clip. So I had to give a
They are
shout out to
so
them.
good.
They
Yes,
are.
they are just precious, precious people, and I just adopted them from the moment I met them. I love them, and they are regulars at one of my favorite hangs, or was my favorite hang before all this crazy stuff kept us imprisoned in our homes. Uh, Over at the scoreboard,
Yeah.
they're almost always there, and I walked in, and she goes, "Oh my gosh, you come over here?" And I said, "Yes." It's like real
Yeah,
country music in Nashville.
they are great. They are great. And you know, I adore you, and I'll be honest, I didn't know a whole lot about you until I started researching to prepare for this. And I
You're
mean, I'd always see your name and I'd always hear people talk about how great you were, and I was thinking, okay, it hasn't been time for me to cross paths with her yet because I don't know. And then when Jill was like, let me schedule Devon, I'm like, oh, okay. And then I got nervous. And I'm like, oh, well, Jill, you're throwing me into the fire here. But I'm so glad because I was able to learn some great things about you, and it made me have this great appreciation for everything you've done in this business for as long as you've done it, and that you still love it is a testament
oh,
to who you are and to your work ethic. And I I want to grow up to be like Devon O'Day.
oh, I bless you. Well, you know what? With a rich voice like yours, and the thing about it, do what you love. Find something that you love to do. And if I leave anybody with this, it's always find something that you love to do and do it a lot, as long as it
Yeah,
doesn't hurt anybody.
Right.
And you just keep doing this, do it a lot. And I always say, even if even if all I ever do is even record something and put it on the internet, even if I don't have a radio station, as
Right.
long as I've got a voice to speak out and speak up for either causes that need a voice,
Right.
or artists that need a voice. I'm just so grateful to be a voice behind a few people, and I'm so glad that God gave me this gift. I mean, He could have made me a great garbage collector, and I would have done that with great joy. But I'm really
Right.
happy that He gave
Right.
me a voice. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'll leave. I want to end with one last question. So
Okay.
if there's somebody that you have not interviewed that you really want to, who would it be?
Um, Gosh, there are so many people that I've gotten to interview that'd be really tough. Honest to God, and it's not even because it's political. I always find out that there are people, and it's not. I would love to sit down with a president, and when I
Yeah,
say a
that would be
president,
cool.
because I think anyone who ends up in that office is worthy of time, and I've never gotten to meet and spend time with them. And I think that being in that office, no matter what your party, no matter what you do, being with a president and saying, how has this position changed you? Because it's going to change you no matter what.
Yes.
And I would love to see it. And no matter what you think, I find that Donald Trump is our president now, and I find his life story fascinating. And I would love to understand more about what makes him tick,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
and his children. I have several of my friends got to interview Bill Clinton, and they said he was a very fascinating person to sit down with in
Mm-hmm.
person. And I think if I drank beer, I would like to have a beer with W.
Right. Because
If that was
well, and I've said too, just stand one time I've been to Washington and standing in front of that house, I don't
yeah,
care who's in there. I don't care. That house, that office, oh, it is deserving of my respect. So,
yes,
yes, what a great answer. I'm so glad I asked you that because you've interviewed so many people, and what a great answer to end on.
thank you. Well, I've always wondered. I've always been interested in politics. In fact, there was an organization that asked me to run, and I said and looked at my political party, and they said, "Yeah, but you're part of our party, and we'd love for you to represent us." And I said, "I don't vote a party, and I can't listen to a party. I do more being a citizen in my world and
Yeah.
speaking out for my causes, but I speak up." But everybody gets to speak up in November, and I hope that everybody, no matter who you vote for, that you exercise your right to be American.
Right, right. And real quick, I don't want to, Stephen, I'm going to get this right. Seamaw, Stephen John Seamaw said hello to us on here. So I don't know if you've met Stephen, but but from Louisiana, it's spelled like Simon, but it's pronounced Seamaw.
Yes, Stephen. Yeah. Well,
And
wonderful, Stephen. Good to talk with you. Good to have you with us.
Devon, I appreciate your time, and I don't want to keep you from the puppies too long because I don't want the storms to come in and then although maybe you're having a break from it, I don't know.
No, I'm going out to feed my horses. They're about to walk up. It's supper time for the horses. I have five rescue horses. I have a senior horse, Angel Horse Farms, and I go out and feed the chickens this time of day.
And we just met this week, the new rooster, right?
The new rooster, absolutely. His name is Roscoe, and he's from the South, and he's got two girlfriends, Linda and Charlene.
Yeah, I saw the talking pet thing. That was good. Guys, if you all are not following Devon O'Day, please do so on all social media platforms. Her website's been going across the bottom, devonoday.net. Make sure you check her out. Read these books, her story, her biography. this you are amazing, and I'm so glad that we had a chance to talk with you. And I'm gonna look forward to. I'm gonna put this in the universe that when we can get back to Nashville and everything's kind of a little bit normal, that we're gonna come visit Angel Horse Farms.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if I ever get, Louisville is one of my favorite cities on earth. I just hope you know that.
Right
It's
now,
one of my choices.
right now Louisville's not a place to be.
I
There's
understand that.
yeah, it's
There's
we're
stuff going
20
on.
yeah, we're about 20 miles south and of Louisville, and it's sad. It is sad, but hopefully very soon a lot of things can get resolved and get back to some semblance of normalcy. So, but yes, if you're
Yeah,
ever up this way, let us know.
absolutely, absolutely. Well,
All
God
right.
bless you, and thank you
Oh,
so
thank
much for
you.
this time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And we will see you very soon. Have a good
Bye
evening.
bye.
All right.
You
Bye bye.
too. Bye bye.